I wanted to know, out of the footage we have out there on the internet that's been floating around for years, and some people say, hey, this is an ET. In your knowledge, what can you tell us about, let's say, the Skinny Bob footage that's out there? Where do you believe this came from?
The Skinny Bob is an actual video of an ET in a confinement facility out at Area 51. Actually, that particular video was done in his environment, in that ET's environment. And I don't recall whether it was the atmosphere or gravity that he needed something special, but it was an interview. It was an interview. The Skinny Bob. It's an actual ET. Not sure where it came from. And the other one is the Victor video. That's absolutely real. And in the bottom left-hand corner, there's the notation DNI. That's the video is being recorded by the Naval Intelligence, Department of Naval Intelligence, DNI, and what they had was this ET who was in an environment, and they were asking specific questions, and this ET couldn't speak. He was relating through telepathy, as far as I know, or brain transfer thoughts, and they were asking, the Naval Intelligence people were asking about an underwater incident that happened. Something attacked a submarine or something that I don't recall exactly what it was. And the film that you see, that portion of the film was what the Naval Intelligence was filming. Now, there was a line of other agencies that were getting ready to go in there. The whole film is like 56 minutes, and you're only seeing a short portion, the Naval Intelligence portion of it. Somebody smuggled it out, as they did the Skinny Bob. I don't know who did it. I'm sure there was an investigation to figure out who did it. But they're real. I mean, absolutely. Now, if you look at the other, 51 minutes of it, there's different other agencies. You'll see AFIS, Air Force Intelligence Service, on the bottom, and DIA dash, and then the XOP or something. And so there was other agencies there, and the last one was the CIA. And they were asking him questions. Or somebody, however they did that. I mean, I wasn't there, but I know that those are real.
I remember Bob Dean was looking at the footage at one point, and he said, "Yeah, that little guy is one of them." And people I've talked to that have had photographs of them and looked at them, he looks just like one of them, and they can identify with him over the years of the same interactions. There is a piece of footage out there that a friend of mine, Colin Wolford, out in England, has been obsessed with for years, researching the alien autopsy footage, and he wants me to ask you, what do you think about this? What have you heard? What do you know about it?
Well, let me go back a little bit. In the 80s, we had somebody within Area 51 tried to smuggle out some films, and they were caught. Security, there was a way they could caught them. And we, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, actually investigated that. I didn't investigate it. I didn't work. Air Force Office of Special Investigations had a criminal investigations branch. I didn't work in that. I worked only in the counterintelligence arena. But they caught this guy, and one of the films that they had was an autopsy film. I didn't see the film, but another agent within the office saw it. And now jump ahead to the 90s, 97 or 96 or 7, or 5, whenever that came out. When I first saw that, I had a number of people within our group. I was working for Dr. Putoff at the time. people jumping out the window saying, "Hey, they got this film. It's real." So our expert, who was also associated with the Institute for Advanced Studies, was Dr. Christopher Green. And most people know who Dr. Green is. He's been in the UFO, on the UFO scene for years. I worked with Dr. Green in counterespionage when he worked for the CIA. So I knew Dr. Green way, way back. One of the best covert agents, spoke Chinese and Russian. Anyways, everybody within our group went to him and said, "Hey, listen, what's this? Is this real?" And Kate looks at it and he said, "Yeah, it looks real. I mean, the procedures are real. I can't say that what those bodies were actual ETs or whether they were suffering from." And he named a few other illnesses that they could be suffering from. But then we had another doctor. I'm not going to name him, but he's pretty profound. He worked for the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology in Washington, D.C., a pretty prestigious place where they did not only pathological research or autopsies on soldiers and that were suffering from strange illnesses or things like that, but they did a lot of research, human research. And he said, he's an older guy, and he'd been around a long time, and so he said everything on that film, all the medical equipment, the facilities, is factual. It would take a lot, probably a lot of money and a lot of effort to fake that.
Exactly.
Now, he could, go ahead.
Exactly. And you would have to ask yourself, out of the different claims of people saying that they have ownership of it and they're saying that they pulled this thing off, just like the Skinny Bob footage, if you were to fake it, which would be very difficult according to people that I've talked to with Hollywood experience, it doesn't make any sense why someone would put that amount of money, time, and effort just to have something out there for no reason. With that footage, before we leave it also, to jump back, did you not say the other night that you thought maybe the Skinny Bob had an Andromeda origin?
Yes.
Do you remember years ago, there was a guy on the scene he's still around, but Alex Collier, he was talking in 94 that he had encountered these Andromedan beings that were bluish. Now, in that video, we're seeing a black and white Skinny Bob. Immediately in my mind, I thought, hey, could there have been a blue tint to him? That would be interesting. But also, when I was talking about this and the amazing, areas that you've talked about with these beings in videos and pictures, a friend of mine in California, Sean Ray Shell, who's been a contactee all his life, he also said that, in his opinion, what he saw in the Victor footage that you were talking about, that those look like the beings that he's seen his entire life. And he associated them with, he would call them hooties growing up. He'd associate them like hooting like an owl, that there was an owl connection. It was very interesting. He brought up this Turkish footage out there with the beings in the window of the craft. And that was another request I had to ask you what you thought about that footage.
Well, that footage, when that made the scene, the intelligence community knew that was real because they had it before it was ever released. And they verified a lot of things. Number one, Turkish radar and American radar, NATO radar, because we had bases in Turkey, verified that there was, in fact, a craft, an unknown craft, flying in that particular area at that time. The pictures of the ETs in the window looking out, it resembled something else that was another incident that was photographed by a Air Force reconnaissance craft flying back in the late 80s 87, 88, close to North Korea.